All right, guys, this chapter is freedom fields versus comfort cages. So we got alignment versus confinement, the chosen one versus the frozen one, choose freedom versus freedom, and all out assault versus default, all out assault mode versus the default mode. So in alignment versus confinement, it's all about finding your frequency in life and ditching your fearquency, which is another chapter, which is basically stop living the less than life. So we got the chosen one versus the frozen one, which this is all about realizing that you've been living the when then predicament for too long versus the now wow. Like the when then, meaning when this happens, then I'll do this. When I make X amount of money, then I'll do that. As opposed to living in the present and realizing that life is short, no regrets. What's the worst thing that can happen? Next section, choose freedom versus freedom, F-R-E-E-D-U-M-B. Because freedom isn't free. You know, when we're trading our time for money, all the lost opportunities, playing it small, and having goals rather than standards. Standards are better than goals. And then the all-out assault mode versus default mode. You know, get fed up and sped up. You know, no stress, no mess, no growth, no progress. No pressure, no passion. One of the big parts of this chapter is that the graveyard is the wealthiest place on the planet. And that the word zone, comfort zone, is way too nice a word to define the damage, the lost dreams, the missed opportunities, the inventions that never were, the problems that were never solved, the prom dates that were never asked, the interrupted inventions, the passed by patents. And because when you're in a comfort cage, the content rarely invent. The content people rarely invent anything. So unlock your comfort cage. And what I had to do was I had to break out of my comfort cage. Even though I was happy about the pivot party and getting into bartending, I poured a little bit too much into that. So my brand was getting watered down. So I had to break out of the bartending mode, because I went to a open house one day, one of my clients, and the realtor at the open house was like, "Oh, hey, that's the bartender from Harborside." So I'd gone from being the realtor who happens to bartend to the bartender who happens to sell real estate. Not good. That was because I was in a comfort cage of the weekly income, the guaranteed money, the show up money, which put me in a comfort cage, which I was okay with for a little while, but I wasn't doing any masterminds. I wasn't growing. I wasn't going to meetings. I was just staying in place, and we know what happens when that happens. So, so I had to find my alignment and got in my frequency, realized I was the chosen one, and got out of the when then predicament, chose freedom over freedom, and turned my default mode into an all-out motherfucking assault mode. Freedom fields versus comfort cages.